Hi, and welcome to the Dragon Age Inquisition live stream. I'm setting it up right now as we speak. This version, the PC version, has some quirks which have to be dealt with. Last time I tried to stream it, it just, for some reason, was improperly optimized and just was a pain in the butt. So we're going to try it now and see how that goes. Uh, Here we are. It's a bit slow for some reason, as well. Again, it's not properly optimized with PC, even though PC probably is the best platform for this game. But I think it has to do with the Frostbite engine. It's a 2014 game that I originally played in the Xbox 360, right? Although it was supposed to be on the Xbox Live, and okay, let's do a new game. Ouch. Elf, dwarf, Kanadi. I always play a mage. Very interesting. Let's start with this. I always play a mage. Should I play male, female? I always play a mage in Inquisition, but in Origins, I almost always play um, a fighter. I think partly because there's always sort of I feel it's an optimal way of playing like this. When you look at the story of Dragon Inquisition, the best story that sort of goes with what the whole thing is set up. I mean, it has options and different options work in different ways, but the mage one fits. And let me read it to you. Born to the Trevelian noble family of Offswick and the Free Watchers, you were originally intended for a life of privilege, until magical abilities surfaced at a young age and you were forced into a life of confinement within the Offswick circle of Magi. Protected but stifled, educated but isolated, the circle would have been your entire future had the mages not rebelled against the Chantry rule. Like it or not, you had to fight for your life against Templars hunting you down all three mages. You joined in the delegation of mages in the Enchanted Conclave in hopes of negotiating peace with Templars. It did not go well. That opened. Hey, how you doing? Hey, welcome to the chat, King Cobbler. Um, yes. Well, Kunari. But I think, well, Konari with a DLC, which I don't have for this game. I may download it later on, may buy it, but right now I don't have the DLC for this game. So, and the game is pretty big, even without the DLC. So there's that. Game power influence by telling you. I really like this game. I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, they were kind of disappointed. Because it isn't very much. It's not Origins, right? And that's the thing about the series is that Origins was not a perfect game, but it's a very good game, and it sort of was the epitome of the sort of Baldur's Gate, sort of stop and go tactical gameplay that Bioware was known for, the RPGs. And then they went another route. Starting with Dragon Age 2, and of course Mass Effect didn't do that. It was a third-person cover-based shooter. Although Jet Empire also was an action RPG. Um, I want to play that game, but the port is not that great. I suppose if I fix my old Xbox and have a capture card, I could play there. But I also have to get a copy, probably on eBay. I'm not yet ready to go into the whole old games collectathon. But yeah, I actually would like to have like a collection of old consoles, especially all the old consoles I never played. The NESs, the Super NESs, the Segas, and stuff like that. Even, well, PlayStations, the reason why I don't like the PlayStations is the controllers. I prefer the 360 controller much better. So let's see the face of this guy. Character creation. Head. Okay, this one. I think this one's the best. Customize. Head and ears, eyes. I'm not very big at customizing. I'm not very good at it. Do you have like purplish eyes? Oh wait, no. Ooh. I like that color. Okay. We're not really gonna see a lot of this color, but nose, mouth, jaw, scar, tattoos. Okay. I'm gonna give him a scar like I have. Is there a scar similar to mine? That's similar. Okay. Barely visible. There you go. No tats. No makeup. Hair. Head and ears. Okay, let's see about... No. Can I do something about the... eyeshadow, underlining? I mean, you can have a little bit of... Nah. Cassandra doesn't like. Yeah, that actually happened, King Cobbler, with Mass Effect. Like the original Mass Effect hair. I like this hair. I like this hair too. I'm not very good at customizing, so if I try to do like let's do this. Yeah, the hair colors here are not that great. There are a couple of mods to modify it, but I'm not gonna mess with the mods right now. Let's go with that. Yeah, the...
How much is this going to cost me exactly? As long as the job gets done, I don't care about the rest.
I just hope I can help.
Nah, I prefer the English.
How much is this going to cost me exactly?
I just hope I can help.
I prefer the English. So, accept changes. Okay. What name? What's the name I'm gonna give him? Rename. I'm gonna give him Lessons. Who's gonna be Lessons? That's silly. No. My old mage name. When I use in Dungeons and Dragons, Ralphest. Yeah, the... Oh, that was pretty slow. Yeah, the cutscenes of this game, because one of the things that happens, it cuts back and forth from 60 FPS in combat, outside of cutscenes, to 30 FPS. They're not properly, customized for PC, which is weird. We think the slower, cutscenes would be better, right? They would be smoother at a lower FPS, but apparently it's, the computer goes too fast for it, I suppose. They're not bad, but at times it's like, eh. And I'm not using the highest fidelity. Again, it's not this game is not properly optimized. And if you add mods, it can be a bit tricky as well. I suppose I could play Origins as well, but I wanted to play this one. If it's too slow, drops too many frames and stuff like that, which is what happened before, then I may have to cancel it. But well, talking about King Cobbler was telling about restarting games. That happened to me with the original Mass Effect. Like, I would start the game and stop. I would start again and stop. Mostly because the UI was not very good in that particular game. But once I got into it, it's like, wow, this is a good game. Still, I mean, it has a lot of filler, which is something that Andromeda did as well. And this game suffers from this as well. It has a lot of filler. But this one does its filler a little bit better. You can see there's failures around how the eyes are done, stuff like that. The hairs, you know. And I wanted to do a mod that modified that. Oh, wait. Wait.
Tell me why we shouldn't kill you now. The Conclave is destroyed. Everyone who attended is dead. Except for you.
You can see sort of a little bit of halting. Use aces as you think, remain silent.
What do you mean everyone's dead?
Explain this.
Yeah. It's worse in the 360 version. Oh boy, in the 360 version it's bad.
What do you
but it's
mean
very
you
similar.
can't?
I don't know what that is, or how it got there.
You're lying!
We need him, Cassandra.
I can't believe it. All those people. Dead.
Do you remember what happened? How this began?
I remember running. Things were chasing me, and then... a woman.
Oh, the eyes, I like the eyes. It's pretty.
She reached out to me. But then...
Go to the Ford camp, Liliana. I will take him to the rift.
I love Cassandra. I don't know why. Just she and
What did happen?
Miranda Lawson from Mass Effect 2 are like my favorite female characters.
Will be
I like
easier
women
to
that are
show
like,
you.
okay, I'm gonna take charge and I'm gonna do my thing, and if you want to come along, well, so you, fine, but not, you know, women that you gotta prove to them that you're worth, right? I think that's my thing. It's like women are like, oh no, you're the hero. Ah, it's like no. I got things to do. You do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing. If your thing and my thing, you know, meet, then we're good to go.
We call it the Breach. It's a massive rift into the world of demons that
I could
grows
try
larger
romancing
with
someone
each
else, but
passing
I'm not
hour.
gonna do that.
It's not the only such rift, just the largest. All were caused by the explosion at the Conclave.
An explosion can
Yeah,
do
the
that.
hair is never.
This one did. Unless we act.
Yeah, you
the
can
breach
say
may
that
grow
the
until it
cutscenes are
swallows
not
the
properly
world.
optimized. Like maybe being too cinematic. But yeah,
Each time the breach expands, your mark spreads, and it is killing you. But there isn't much
my love
time.
for you, Cassandra, is killing me.
You say it may be the key. To doing what?
Closing the breach. Whether that's possible is something we shall discover shortly. It is our only chance.
She and Varric are
however.
the best,
And
and by
yours.
best I mean the only things that actually came out of
You still think I did this?
Dragon Age
To
2.
myself?
Not intentionally.
Josephine is good,
Something
yeah, but
clearly went wrong.
I think Josephine, the
If
thing
I'm not
is,
responsible?
her romance
Someone
is
is,
very fairy tale,
and
which
you
is
are our
fine,
only
which is cool.
suspect. You wish
But
to
the
prove your
emphasis
innocence?
on
This is the
they
only
made her
way.
to be too innocent, especially in romance. It's like, oh, well, you
understand.
hug and kiss and that's it.
Then
Well, every other
I'll do what I
romance
can,
really emphasizes the
takes.
sex and the nudity, especially for women. You know, women being topless and all that. Which, yes, Twitch, I know, I'm aware. I read the guidelines. I have to skip that one.
They have decided your guilt. They need it.
But I still like this game. I like the combat.
I
like the combat. We're gonna see it soon. Yeah, it's not this. You can play this origin style where you stop, start, and stop, start, and stop. But I like the fact that I can play my mage, and for the most part, the allies are smart enough that I don't have to handle them. But that's a clear
We
differentiation.
lash out
So,
like the sky, but we must think beyond ourselves, as she did. Until the breach is sealed.
I like the crafting. The UI of this game is
There
far
will
better
be
than
a trial.
Andromeda.
I can promise no more.
I played on.
Come.
People who don't
It
know,
is
I
not
played
far.
earlier this
Where are
year.
you
I played the
taking me?
entire Mass Effect series, from the first one to
Your mark
Andromeda.
must be tested
See,
on
you
something
can see it,
smaller
right?
than the breach.
This is a rotating camera test to show that it's much smoother. The one thing that you can't do in this game
Open
is,
the gate. We are heading into
is
the valley.
roll, but you can jump, which was a first for this series. You can't pick any plants. Okay, some of this stuff is locked. Let's do a save game. We're gonna need it. No, I don't think it's entirely my YouTube. I have to check. I wasn't doing all the exports back then. I played the entire Mass Effect series and Andromeda. And Andromeda was disappointing, to say the least. I think I posted a couple of episodes, but it's so long. It's like... the reason why I don't post as much in my YouTube as I should is that it doesn't get any views, really. I've been posting stuff for a while. It's like, they don't get any views. It's like, if I actually got some views... I do have a lot of Mass Effect stuff on my channel, because that's one of my favorite series. But I'm moving away from Mass Effect, because it's
How
sort of
did
a
I
dead
survive the
horse
blast?
kind of thing for me.
They said
Especially
you
after the ending.
stepped out of a rift, then fell unconscious. They say a woman was in the rift behind you. No one knows who she was. Everything farther in the valley was laid waste, including the Temple of Sacred.
The skylines are
I
beautiful in
suppose
this
you'll
game.
see soon enough.
Ironically, I think this game actually would require... Well, this game was optimized for consoles. I would actually like to see it with an HD remake. In fact, when I was streaming Andromeda, one of my fears was that if I pursued the romance that I pursued, Twitch might go,
behind me.
that's too kinky for us. I'm pressing. I like the powers and abilities of the mage. How do you panic it?
It's over.
Drop your weapon.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Clearly in the 360.
All right.
And the 360 version is even
Have it
worse.
your
But
way.
ironically, not by
Wait.
much. I think some cutscenes are so, but like
You don't
Dorian's
need
first appearance in
staff.
a cutscene,
But you should have one.
and in the
I
Chantry,
cannot
it's like,
protect you.
what the hell? The thing about this game, and this is something that's going on with EA for a while
I should
now,
remember
it's a
you
Frostbite
agreed
engine.
to come willingly.
The Frostbite engine was not designed for RPGs. Frostbite engine was designed for let me see if I can get
Take
some.
these potions. Maker knows what we will face.
Where are all your soldiers?
At the forward camp
For
or
first-person
fight.
shooters,
We are on
not
our
for
own
for RPGs or any other sort of type of game. So everyone under EA, now EA basically declared a couple of years ago that everybody has to use the Frostbite. Yeah, for FPSs. And it's like, oh, we're gonna save some money. we're gonna save some money by making everything under the Frostbite engine, which ironically makes things more expensive because you have to basically rework the engine to make it work for everything else. I think that's one of the reasons why there were so many delays with Andromeda. Yeah, well...
There! Watch out! If we flank them, we may gain the advantage.
Cassandra, would you fight already? Sometimes that happens. Cassandra, darling. You're supposed to do something. He was like, I'm just gonna T-pose here. Yeah, they developed that engine, and it's interesting because BioWare one time was known for making their own engines for games. Like some of the best games in for Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. Well, original Baldur's Gate was not made under the... It's considered a BioWare game now, but it really wasn't a BioWare game. It was from the same people that made...
Up on the hill! It's attacked from a distance!
Fallout. But BioWare is credited with the designers because they're the ones who made the engine for it. Oh, that's a powerful strike. And they made the Aurora engine for Neverwinter Nights, which I have, which is pretty cool as a sort of a building engine and stuff like that. But yeah, eventually, you know, they got bought out by EA. When they decided that they wanted to make an MMO, a SWTOR MMO. That story is pretty interesting. I have to link to it in my YouTube here as well, about the story of how EA acquired BioWare. It has to do with Rick Riccatello, which is was once former and then, well, twice over. He was a former president of EA twice over.
They're falling from the breach!
Yeah, he's been a president of the EA, got out, right? And had a holding company, and that holding company gave money to BioWare to finish SWTOR, and essentially bought BioWare. And in doing so, when Rick Riccatello, apparently it was also a personal holding company, I guess. I don't know the exact ways that the company was working at the time. But apparently it was a personal holding of Rick Riccatello, because when Rick Riccatello returned to EA, he brought BioWare with him. So essentially, BioWare committed the mistake of trying to make an MMO at a time when MMOs were dying or were shrinking, I would say, right? And while SWTOR hasn't been a complete failure, it was actually still a lot around compared to the other Star Wars MMO, Star Wars Galaxy, which did die. It hasn't fared as well. In fact, it broke the record of. What? How do I? I guess I'm healed. I gotta drink potions in combat here. I forgot that that's the thing. You can't drink potions outside of combat. Anyway, wow, the stones.
We're getting close to the rift. You can hear the fight.
Oh, there we go. Forgot about that.
Who's fighting?
You'll see soon. We must help them.
And Barrack.
Quickly! Before more come through!
The floating pants glitch.
What
Yeah.
did you do?
You didn't see that. It was a pair of
The credit
blinking
is yours.
pants that was running away.
At least this is good
I think
for
that happens
something.
when you
Whatever
don't kill
magic
all the
opened
demons
breach in
before the
sky
cutscene
also
happens.
placed that mark upon your hand. I theorized the mark might
Very
be able to
much,
close
yeah.
the rifts that have opened in the breach's wake. And it
What
seems
a
I was
nasty cut
correct.
on your finger, dude.
Meaning it could also close
The
the
banter
breach
is great.
itself.
Possibly.
The banter
It
among all
seems
the
you
party
hold the
members
key
is
to our
pretty great
salvation.
in this game.
Good to know. Here I thought we'd be ass deep in demons forever. Varric Tethras, rogue, storyteller, and occasionally unwelcome tag-along.
Disgusted noise.
It's good to meet you, Varric.
You may reconsider that stance in time.
Oh, I'm sure we'll become great friends in the valley, Chuckles.
Absolutely not. Your help is appreciated, Varric, but
Have you been in the valley lately, Seeker? Your soldiers aren't in control anymore. You need me.
If Dragon Age 2 had been about
My aim
Varric,
is soulless if there are
it could have been
demonic
actually a
actions.
good
I am
game.
pleased to
But
see you still live.
He means I kept that mark from killing
But like I say,
anyone who slept.
EA acquired BioWare through Ray Riccatello. BioWare then, at the time, was finishing the touches with Mass Effect, which was released under Microsoft's game. But the original Dragon Age Origins came out under EA. And after that, of course,
seem to
EA
know a
has
great deal about
been
school.
more and more
unlike
controlling
you,
of
Solus
BioWare.
is an apostate.
To the point that people are fearing
Technically,
that
all mages are now apostates, Cassandra.
that the game
My
they're working
travels have
on, which
allowed
is
me to learn
Anthem,
much
might
of
end
the
up
faith.
being the last game that
Far
BioWare
beyond
does
the
if it
experience of
fails,
being
even if it
certain.
succeeds.
I came to offer whatever help I
Because
can
Andromeda
give to the breach.
wasn't exactly
If
a
it is not
flop
closed,
sales-wise,
we are all
but it
doomed,
didn't
regardless of
meet the
origin.
expectations that EA had for it. Of course, when you pass out, you
commendable
take a
attitude.
major game and a major
Merely a
franchise
sensible one.
of one of your
Although
biggest
sense appears to be
studios
in
and pass
short
it to
supply
a
right now.
secondary studio,
Cassandra,
satellite
you should
studio,
know. The magic involved
and they
here is
throw
unlike
away
any
2
I've
years
seen.
of development
Your
because they
prisoner is a
couldn't make it.
mage,
They couldn't make the whole
But I
random
find it
thing
difficult to
work.
imagine any mage
you
having
know,
such power.
No Man's
Understood.
Sky, then.
We must
And I
get
don't
to
want
the
to start a
forward
No
camp
Man's Sky.
quickly.
You're like, oh my god, No Man's Sky
Well-
is good now. Yeah, 2 years later.
Bianca's excited.
I hate that. I hate the patching culture. I understand that things need to be patched. Games are complicated.
This way, down the bank. The road ahead is blocked.
And
move
hard to
quickly.
make, and they're expensive. But relying on the patching culture to essentially finish your game years later, it's not a good business practice. And the fact that people are so tolerant of it, it's like, oh well, we gotta fix this, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but that shouldn't be the thing. That it encourages people to, well,
Demons ahead!
Glad you brought me now, Seeker?
yeah, you can do this, but I never do. This is, you know, it's a hybrid situation where you can play a la Massive Dragon Age Origins, but in this game, it's Not really needed. Except maybe in a big battles like you're battling a dragon or something like that, you might want to change character once in a while, but you don't need to give them like, you know, orders like that. It actually slows down the gameplay in a way that, at least for this game, I'm not really keen on. Yes, let's go into the burning house. And not get burned. Well, burn if you stand in the fire for too long. You might get a little cinch, but you know, convention will mention, right? Heat is not a thing. Flame will burn, but heat isn't. I do look what they did with Ferelden and all that. I like the environments in this game are pretty good. But see, what this game needs is a massive. Ironically, talk about massive patches. It needs a PC patch. It needs a good, you know, customization patch for PC, and that would be it, really. You know, fix the eyebrows, that sort of thing. Because if you rely on mods, the thing about relying on mods is, of course, that they themselves are not properly optimized. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, it's a good point you bring, King Cobbler. I've been having this sort of, and I think I'm not the only one, clearly, that there needs to be a major revision of how games are made. I think.
So, are you innocent? I don't remember what happened.
We're still stuck in
That'll
sort
get
of
you every time.
1990s small
That's what you
studio.
would have done.
It's more
You
believable
know,
and less prone to result in premature execution.
developing by the seat of our pants thing. The idea that people are expected, for example, to stay in the weekends and sleep under their desk. It's like, wait a minute, you have 2, 3, 4, 5 years to develop something, and then you're still rushing to development. What happens in those 5 years? Like, well, you don't really know because you don't know how it goes, and everybody works hard. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but there's something about the way games are being made that I think fundamentally needs to change. I think we need a sort of a new Hollywood kind of situation where people have to re-examine how things are made, fundamentally made. And I think a lot of problems stem from that, right? And it's not just, people say, well, it's creative versus, it's a greedy publishers that don't understand game. But a lot of these decisions and the behaviors come from the developer side.
He's resourceful, Seeker.
We will see for ourselves at the forward camp. We're almost there.
And for example, some of the reasons why you have like day one patches and stuff like that is because of certification. I read one blog post a long time ago about certification. Like, you have to release something to get certified, and then you really get into working with it. It's like, but shouldn't certifications be something that the publishers take care of, not the developers? Why does it fall on developers to deal with certification, which is normally a legal matter, rather than...
Another rift!
We must seal it! Quickly!
They keep coming! Help us!
I never get tired of closing bridge, by the way.
Hurry! Use the mark!
And so, for example, this is my take on the patching culture, which I've had sort of, if you watch my channel, I already I have a hang up about it. I've done videos about it before. Okay, character record.
on. Open the gate.
Right away, Lady Cassandra.
If you do it, you know, just like a DLC, right? If you give me
that thing on your hand
a
is?
good
It's
game,
useful.
right? If you give me a good game that works well enough, and you add to it, but it has bugs and stuff like that, but you add to it, then I'm all for it. Didn't I just? Oh, I still have points to spend, huh? I have to change. I have to remap because I'm using controller here. Keyboard gives you more options, certainly. But I, for some reason, I used to use the controller, so that's what I use. This UI is not the best, but it's better than Andromeda's. Andromeda's a later game. Okay, like, watch this.
Here they come.
My take is if you make a good game, a flawed but good game
Roderick.
with a good enough
This
amount of
is-
content,
I know
right, and
who
it's a
he
solid
is.
game,
As
and then
Grand
you fix and
Chancellor
add
of
to
the
it,
Chantry,
good.
I hereby
But if you
order
play a
to
No
take
Man's
the
Sky
Colonel
or
de
a Mass Effect
Valroyo
Andromeda where
to
you put out a
face
game that is not that
execution.
good and you sort of try to backfill, it's like,
Order
oh,
me?
well, you know, we'll
You are a
patch it
glorified
later,
clerk,
then
a bureaucrat.
why should I support
And
that,
you
right?
are a thug,
I mean,
but
it's
a
like
thug
early
who
access.
supposedly
Oh, early
serves
access.
the
Well, you
Chantry.
can buy. I don't buy any
We
early
serve
access
the most
games
holy,
because of that. It's
Chancellor.
like
you
you're
wonder.
asking me to
Justinia is
pay
dead.
you for the privilege of being your beta tester.
Must elect a
Essentially.
replacement and obey her orders on the matter.
Yeah, it definitely it's unsustainable, King Cobra. You're absolutely
Isn't closing
right.
the breach the more pressing issue?
You know,
You brought this on us in the first place.
and like I was saying before, you know,
Call her
so
a
you have to
cheat.
patch, but you have to one day patch because
Our position here is
um,
hopeless.
We can stop this
and also
before
it
it's too late.
encourages stuff like EA. Again, talking about
How?
EA, The Sims.
You won't
The Sims is
survive
the
long enough to reach
classic
the temple, even with all
patching
your
culture
soldiers.
thing, in which
We
every
must get to
time
the
EA
temple.
launches
It's
The
the quickest
Sims,
route.
and I think now they want to
But
launch it
not the
for mobile
safest.
next time
Our
around,
forces can charge as a
It has less
distraction
content.
while we go through the mountains.
right? Back in the day,
We lost
you would get The
contact with
Sims
an
and maybe one or
entire
two
squad
big
on that
expansion
path.
packs, like the
It's
medieval
too
pack and stuff
risky.
like that, that would completely transform the game. It's like, oh great, I
Abandon
love The
this now,
Sims. I get more
before more
Sims,
lives are
right?
lost.
But now it's you get the barest of The Sims, and then it's like dozens and dozens of DLC. You can easily spend over $200 worth on a Sims game or more,
How
probably.
do
I
you
haven't
think we
calculated,
should
and all getting all the DLC. It doesn't have microtransactions.
Use the mountain path. Work together. You all know what's at stake.
Exactly, right. And there's even a
Viviana,
DLC that was
bring everyone left in
a
the
DLC of
valley.
a DLC,
Everyone.
which needed the pets DLC. It's like, oh,
On your head be the consequences.
like,
seeker.
oh, I can't have this DLC because I don't have this other DLC. People complain, for example, of in the patching culture. One of the earliest examples, I love Bethesda games. I thought about playing Fallout 4 instead of this. I may still play it. There's a massive mod that is supposed to come out, probably a paid mod, Fallout Miami. If it comes out and it's good, I'll pay it and then play it on stream. But Bethesda just did back in Fallout 3. Oh, you didn't like the ending because the ending was crap, and my take on the ending is different from other people's ending. I understand what they did and why they did it, and why people don't like it. But I have a different take on Fallout 3, right? By the way, one of the reasons why I also don't like New Vegas is that it has the same problems that I had with the ending of Fallout 3. So it's like, oh, all this for nothing. Anyway, they actually
The tunnel should be just ahead.
they
The
have
path to
you
The temple lies just beyond it.
What manner of tunnel is this?
buy I think at the time was a
Part of an
$10
old mining complex. These mountains are full of
DLC,
such paths.
Brotherhood of Steel,
And your missing
Broken
soldiers
Steel.
are in there
For
somewhere?
Brotherhood of Steel, to
Along
that
with whatever
fix
is
one of the things.
detained
It actually expands the
We
game.
shall
Gives
see
you
soon
it gives you a
enough.
lot of stuff. But the real reason why you buy is to fix the ending. So you paid Bethesda for the privilege of fixing their own game. Oh, you don't like the ending? Well, here's a fix for $10, right? And that's part of the patching culture, right? Yeah, we can fix it if you pay us, right? You know you want this content, so and are willing to pay it. And so we get so used to it that let me give you an example of how the patching culture should work. And that's Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley, when it came out, wasn't perfect, but it was a solid game, right? And I played I played a version, someone lent it to me, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good game. And then they kept adding stuff. It's like, for free. Now, not every game can do that. That's true. I wouldn't expect everybody to do that, but the fact that they keep adding stuff means that people keep playing it. And I keep going back to that game. Because it has new addition. Now it has multiplayer. Yeah, well, Microsoft points, now they're direct cash equivalent. So that used to be the way it used to be. Okay, let me see. Cassandra. I don't like the fact that in here shields are considered weapons for some reason. I guess you can shield bash with them, so but that's don't like it. They're armor, not shields. Anyway, that's a way to do it, right? And it just encourages you to do it more and more and more and more of this, right? A lot of, and that's also what I like about microtransactions. Like a lot of this content, you know, if you're old enough, you like myself, old gamer, I suppose. We remember a time when a lot of this stuff was in the game, but now it isn't because developers don't want to do this. Publishers know that they can get away with it. And there's a difference between a DLC, right, an expansion pack, and say just cosmetics and stuff like that. People say, oh, it's just cosmetics. Well, if it's just cosmetics, you wouldn't buy them. And in many games, they're integral to your enjoyment. Exactly, you can get back to it, and that creates goodwill. So when they make the next game, they go like, "Yeah, this guy treated me right." Now, on small projects like that, it's actually easier because it's cheaper. They just, you know, they don't need to sell millions of copies. And that's another thing. It's like people talk about the cost of the rising cost of making video games, but it's sort of chicken and egg kind of thing, right?
I'm leaving that to the man.
Games are more expensive because you put more stuff in your games that is unnecessary, which means you now have to make more money to make up for the cost of the stuff that you added to it. And one thing that doesn't really get covered a lot is also advertising. Now, yes, I understand that if you don't properly advertise your game, it will not sell. But not every game is the same. And not every game needs to be an E3. Not every game needs to be in every single convention. Not every game needs to be hyped for a year and a half or 2 or even 3 years. To the point where everybody comes to believe it's vaporware. Not every game has to be like that. And
Lady Cassandra! Lieutenant, you're alive. Just barely.
yeah, it is.
sealed, as before.
And then I mean,
You are
let's look
becoming
what
quite
happened with
proficient at
Let's hope it works on the big one.
and I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the trend to go
Thanks for making you
games as
finally arrive, Lady
service,
Cassandra.
because that sort of
I don't think
integrates
we
a
could have
patching
held out
culture.
much
Like
longer.
in essence,
Thank our prisoner, Lieutenant.
and this is
He
this
insisted we
I
come
see
this
I
way.
foresee a big problem is that
Prisoner.
what I'm seeing that from a
Then you-
business point of view, from a business model point of view, it's like
It was worth saving you.
games
if
are
we
being
could.
turned into
Then you
MMOs.
have my sincere
In
gratitude.
fact, we already have like MMO lights.
The way into the
You know,
valley
your
behind us is
Destinies
clear
and stuff
for
like
the
that. That's
moment.
MMO light.
Go
MMOs
while you
for the
still can.
consoles.
At once.
Quickly, let's move.
But
The path ahead appears to be clear of
if you
demons as well.
treat every
Let's
game like
hurry
an
before
MMO,
that changes.
and Anthem is going to be like that, game as service, then it has to, it runs on the patching culture, right?
Down the ladder.
Always
That's the way
online
to the
games,
temple.
of course, rely on the fact that you can build everything. But if you, I'll point everybody who's watching to Nerd Slayer channel, Nerd Slayer, who's a friend of the channel. I interviewed him. You can find that in the bots on my YouTube channel, definitely. And he has the death of a game, and most of the stuff that he covers is
accidentally happen.
If enough magic is brought to bear,
I like this little details on
is
the statues
possible.
and stuff like that, which looks
But
much
there
better on
are
the PC and
easier
the
ways to make
current
things
consoles
explode.
than at 360.
that is true.
We will consider how this happened once the immediate danger is past.
So the environments are well done here. And one of the things that happened with many MMOs, first of all, there was a flood of them, right? Second, a lot of them just launched with too little content. So people will play the MMO, burn through the original content.
Temple of Sacred
If
Ashes.
there wasn't enough end game content or something like that, or PvP or
That
whatever to
is
keep
where you
people.
walked out of the Fade, and our soldiers found you. They say a woman was in the rift behind you. No one knows who she was.
That was unsustainable, and a lot of them failed. This has a strong Vesuvius kind of feel to it, really. Wow, it's very creepy. Yeah, it feels like, wow, yeah, like these people got incinerated. That must have been where the explosion happened. Watching the explosion happen in the other way, this is... I remember this dungeon from Dragon Age Origins. It's pretty big on it. It's pretty cool too. But it's a late day. It clearly is a late game dungeon because it's pretty tough as well. Has its own dragon and everything. You treat everything like an MMO, and that's what they're doing with games as service. It's not that the games themselves are MMOs. It's that the way they're the idea of MMO, especially back in the days of subscription, was to keep you playing, right? To keep you constantly playing. But you need a core, good core game, which was how World of Warcraft certainly had, and then you need to keep adding more stuff because it was online. In that sense, patching makes sense because you have to sustain the product, but it doesn't really make sense on single player situations like this game,
You're
right?
here. Thank the Maker.
If you have to rely too much on patching, then
Leliana,
something
have
is
your men
fundamentally
take up
wrong.
positions around the
And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see it. I'm already seeing it. Basically, AAA games are going to drift into games as service, and then
This
the
is your
double A
chance to
industry
end
and the indies are going to stay. Are the
Are
only
you
ones who
ready?
really going to do the single player thing, or a mixture single player and multiplayer.
I'll try, but I don't know if I can reach that, much less close it.
No. This rift was the first, and it is the key. Seal it, and perhaps we seal the breach.
Then let's find a way down.
And so that's
And
gonna
be
happen. And this is where I put my tinfoil hat here. I suspect that by 2020, the U.S. and the world is going to go into another recession, another global recession.
What are we hearing?
At a guess?
It's politics.
Persons who
I'm not going to
created
go
the
into much
breach.
into it. But guess what happens when recessions hit? Especially when wages have stagnated in the last 20, 30 years. What's the first thing that happens when people get into financial trouble, right? They start cutting on their monthly cost. Oh, you have Netflix, you have EA, you have this, Amazon and all that. Well, I watch mostly Netflix, but not Amazon, so I'll go back on Amazon.
You know this stuff is red lyrium, Seeker.
I have a subscription to EA Origin,
What's it doing
but I don't
here?
play all the games that they're giving me because they don't have a big library. I'm not a big video,
It's evil. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
shall I say,
Keep the sacrifice still.
sports game player. So I'm gonna cut EA, right? And all of these video games as service, just like MMOs, require constant engagement in order for people to spend all the money. First thing people are going to do is start cutting that back, right? They're going to go, oh, I'm not getting into another game. And another thing we've seen is that there was a news, and we're going to talk about that probably tomorrow on the podcast, 9 o'clock Eastern with Chapelmon, is that Fortnite is having an impact on other games. Because that's another thing. It's like we have what's called the big game syndrome. Right? You have a few games that are so big, your GTA 5s, your Fortnites, that there's no space for anything else, or very little space. Maybe there's space for second place, maybe third place, and that's it. Everyone else, and what happened to the MMOs again, they're out of luck, SOL. Because there's not enough money to go around, especially if your model relies on having a lot of microtransactions and DLC and all that. So I'm seeing companies going to into video games as service, MMO like, etc., with no backups. And that's a lot of money they're gonna spend, a lot of money they're be investing over the years. And EA took a huge hit last time around, 2008, 2010. Some companies closed. A lot of MMOs failed.
What's going on here?
Probably partly was because of the financial situation of the Great Recession.
We have an intruder.
Video games are
Kill
seen
him
as part of...
now.
That's probably pretty cool. Are part of the entertainment business, and they're supposed to be recession-proof. But let's put it this way. Again, there's a difference between spending $10, $20, even $30 you and you're trying to afford it, even $50 if you're playing like a big family to the movies one time. You save up for the month, like, okay, I have $50 that are left, so I go with a family, buy popcorn, and watch a movie, versus spend $60 plus for a new game that expects you to spend dozens, hundreds of dollars per month for the next 2 or 3 years. Not the same thing. So yeah, I mean, predicting the future, right? You never really know. But and I wish it didn't go, but that's part of the risk, right? But now we got to fight a big hunking electrified thing. This fight is not that hard. It seems hard, but...
The demon is vulnerable. Now!
Also, I like the fact that you can dodge attacks here in this version of the game. You couldn't do that before. I mean, it's not easy, but... I mean, that's another thing about how business is conducted, right? One of the attitudes I see, not only in the video game industry, but in a lot of industries, is that you can't really question the business model. The business model is something you cannot question. And often what you find is failures, time and time again, you find failures of the business model. The business model becomes unsustainable because, you know, things change. That's what happened to Atari back in the day when the video game collapsed. The expectation of forever growth is also one thing that is a problem as well. That doesn't mean that we're gonna have another, you know, collapse. I don't expect that to happen, but not everything's gonna be as rosy cheek as they expect.
Now, feel the rift. Do it.
And without, that's another thing. It's like I think Ubisoft do this a little bit, and some other companies. But most companies are not doing it. Look at what happened with the move to mobile games by AAA industry. Most of the mobile games that they're launching don't really make that much money, except for a few examples. Right? So again, EA and other companies spent millions, billions of dollars trying to get into the mobile market, and because the mobile market runs on free games that are, you know, pumped out, you know, there's one game drops and there's like 1,000 copies of it. You know, it's so densely packed that even for AAA companies sort of penetrating the mobile market was almost impossible. But they spend the money because that's where the money was, and they made some money. I mean, this game, Dragon Age, has a mobile game. But it can backfire, right?
Oh! I didn't know you were awake, I swear.
Don't worry about it. I
beg your forgiveness and your blessing. I am but a humble servant. You're back in Haven, my lord. They say you saved us. The breach stopped growing, just like the mark on your hand.
It's still there, though. I like the clothing.
It's all anyone has talked about for the last 3 days.
I like the fact they fixed the L's from Dragon Age Origins too. I mean, in Dragon Age Origins, they just look like humans with big ears. In 2, they look like weird dolls.
And the danger is over.
The breach is still in the sky, but that's what they say.
Here, it's a mix of the two,
I'm certain
right? They're
Lady Cassandra would
skinny
want to know
and
you've wakened. She said, at
tiny.
And where is she?
Once, in the Chantry with the Lord Chancellor. At once, she said.
One of the things I do like about Dragon Age Inquisition, the Dragon Age series, is that you can see they did the research, right? A lot of the stuff like the Chantry is very much based on, say, the Catholic Church. In fact, the term Chantry is a part of a church. So the inner core of a church. Okay, I gotta... Oh, ugh. That's not what I wanted. Oh, wow. Hey, whoa. Easy. Okay, we're gonna map that to. No, that's. Okay. No. Sorry, just trying to map this. Actually, no. Let's map it to B. Okay. I'm using a controller. This is supposed to work. I mean, this is a 360 controller. It should work better than the original. I guess it's... Oh, what? Like I was saying, I like the research and stuff like that. I don't like when we get to Olay. The fact that Olay seems to be based on... And yeah, no, it's fantasy kind of culture kind of thing. Fantasy borrowed cultures. But it looks a bit too sophisticated. Like, one of the things about the original in Origins, it really looked medieval, which is something that, and the Dragon Age 2 and 3 sort of try to moved away from that. Is that one of the things I find very interesting is that when you use effectively history, right? Real history is far cooler and more interesting than people realize. And so, you know, for example, well, depends how you do it. If you do it in the way, for example, say Game of Thrones does it, which is basically a fantasy version of The War of the Roses, then for me it's like, eh. I mean, I appreciate the writing in Game of Thrones, but because I used to have a minor in history, I so readily recognize it. It's like, oh yeah, I can see where where this is coming from. So it's like I can read a history book, and the history book is far more interesting than this book, right? Also, the fact that the Game of Thrones, for the most part, is so relentlessly dark, right? I can take grimdark in small doses, but entire series of books. Yeah, no, there's only so much you can do.
Have you gone completely mad? He should be taken to Val Royo immediately, to be tried by whomever becomes divine.
But yeah, I like the fact that they effectively use history and the architecture and stuff like that, especially in the original game. Like, it looked like something that was, Ferelden looked like it was 12th, 13th century England, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And the Elysian occupation is supposed to be equivalent to the invasion of 1066, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But of course, in the real world, the English, the Anglo-Saxons did not liberate themselves from the Normans, although they did try. But I like that. I like the architecture. I mean, especially all the skull motifs. These architecture really looks like, Black Plague era architecture or death. I look at those statues and stuff like that. At least here they look very much medieval, which is supposed to be the foundation of fantasy, right? At least Western RPG fantasies. I made the same comments when I was playing Dark Souls. With Dark Souls actually looks more like a medieval fantasy game than most fantasy games. But at the same time, this is also otherworld fantasy, so you gotta also distinguish it as well. And you have to make these decisions.
Chain him! I want him prepared for travel to the capital for trial.
Disregard that and leave us.
You walk a dangerous line, Seeker.
The breach is stable, but it is still a threat. I will not ignore it.
I did everything I could to close the breach. It almost killed me.
Yet you live. A convenient result
Yet
insofar
you
as you're
live.
concerned.
Have a care, Chancellor. The breach is not the only threat we face.
Someone was behind the explosion at the Conclave. Someone most holy did not expect.
You can tell Cassandra's
Perhaps they died
is
with the
a
others,
BioWare
or
character because
have
all
allies
the
who yet
belts.
live.
BioWare is only
Have a
second
suspect?
to say
You
Japanese
and
designers
many
when it
others.
comes to having
But
women
not the prisoner.
wear a lot of belts.
I heard the voices in the temple.
Except that
the divine called to
some
him
Japanese
for help.
designers just put belts
So
on
his
everyone.
survival,
Everywhere.
that thing on his hand,
Just because belts.
all a coincidence.
But there you go.
Providence. The Maker sent him to us in our darkest hour.
I don't know. I always play him very religious. I'm gonna play him religious, yeah.
Though all before me is shadow, yet shall the Maker be my guide.
We lost
Yeah.
everything then.
Half pants,
Out of
stuff
nowhere,
like that.
you came.
The breach remains, and your mark is still our only hope of closing it.
This is not for you to decide.
You know what this is, Chancellor. A writ from the Divine, granting us the authority to act. As of this moment, I declare the Inquisition reborn. We will close the breach, we will find those responsible, and we will restore order with or without your approval.
I mean, the Inquisition, of course. Of course.
This is the Divine's directive.
But this Inquisition
Rebuild the
has nothing to do
Inquisition of
with the
old.
Inquisition.
Find those who will stand against the chaos. We aren't ready. We have no leader, no numbers. And now, no Chantry support.
But we have no choice. We must act now, with you at our side.
What is the Inquisition of old, exactly?
It preceded
He still
the
has a lot of
Chantry.
belts as well.
People who banded together to restore order in a world gone mad.
After, they laid down their banner and formed the Templar Order.
Is
But
Cassandra
the Templars have lost their way. We
accent?
need those who can do what must be
It's
done
not
united
Spanish,
under a single banner once
Portuguese.
more.
Not German, certainly. It's foreign European, I suppose.
But aren't you still part of the Chantry?
Liliana's, of
that
course, is
what you
French. In
see?
fact, her voice
The
actress
Chantry
is
will take
French.
time to find a new divine.
Or
And then it will
French-Canadian,
wait
I
for her
think.
direction.
But we cannot wait. So many Grand Clerics died at the Conclave. No, we are on our own. Perhaps forever.
If you're truly trying to restore order,
That is the plan.
Help us fix this before it's too late.
I mean, I like the fact that Cassandra has, you know, she's a warrior and all that, but it's still BioWare, so they still put her in tight pants to show her butt. Which I don't mind, but, well, yeah, it's not for everyone, clearly. Just like Miranda's butt. It's supposed to be runes, right? That's another thing. It's like, I like when they what they did with Skyrim that they didn't hear. I don't like it when they don't use English. Right? I suppose it helps the localization. Again, it's that other world fantasy. If you use maybe. I like this scene. It's a very beautiful scene. I wish they showed the crows going to over Olay and Denerim, but I guess the budget's. Indeed, I am. Well, okay. There's a little bit of a story there, and I'll get to it right in a moment. Oh, that's a lot of sparks. I like how she commands attention. It's like, oh, yep, she's the commander. And the music. Yeah, that was all that was a prologue. Now the actual game begins. Yeah. Very Martin Luther. But by the way, nailing things to church, to walls of churches was not something that Martin Luther invented. By the way, it was a very common way of, communicating to the entire town, because churches, in fact, the term parish is still used in Britain, which tells you how the importance of the church as a socio-economic, socio-political, factor until very recently in Europe. Get all that F root. But talking about Miranda a little bit, Miranda's butt, basically. I remember the first time I saw that cutscene when she leans over. I was like, oh wow, that's great, because the cis heterosexual man in me was going like, oh yeah, oh baby. But then I played the game enough times. I was like, yeah, this is become a bit uncomfortable. It's a little too much,
What can you tell me about this area?
It's a bit too much. And then I saw an interview with Yvonne Strahovski. I hope I'm saying her name right, which did the voice and face of Miranda Lawson. And she gets asked about being in a video game. And this is a reaction. I'm trying to sort of emulate what she's saying. And she says, well, that is my face and my voice, but that's not my body. She said to try to make it clear that was in her body. I was like, oh, so clearly even though she played the character in multiple DLC and in 2 games.
Out of Lady Cassandra's clutches, and here I paid that little knife ear to inform me the moment you were free. No matter. Sigrid, honored to meet you.
You're a bastard, Sigrid. Racist bastard.
What do you think I'll be doing exactly?
Word's already spreading.
And to me, it's like, wow, she doesn't feel comfortable with that objectification of her having to play that kind of character, which is funny because the idea is that Miranda is in top physical form and she's athletic and all that. It's like Yvonne Strahovski has played athletic characters before, a lot of them. She's very tall. She does yoga. She's very athletic, right? So there was no real need if they really wanted to go with Miranda as body as being athletic and still conventionally attractive. They could have done closer to actually her voice actress, and it would have been perfect. I think nobody would have complained, right?
I don't see why we need to build siege equipment. We're not laying siege to anything.
if you're going for the fact that she was genetically created, but it just the fact that they went with the big boobies and the big butt. Well, I personally find attractive. It also has some problems. Like, yeah, you didn't have to go that route. You did because you wanted to. This is foreshadowing. And because you have your own, BioWare designers have their own kinks, right? But in many ways, if you look at the history of Miranda, how she was bioengineered by her father, wow, yeah, that just adds an entire level of creepiness right there. That you're like, I feel dirty, and not in a good way. So yeah, Miranda Lawson, I love the character. I love her look of the character, but it's one of those things I would say, without a shame, that is indeed problematic. It's also very lazy, very much so. And what tends to happen, and this is another aspect, and it happens in all, especially in Dragon Age games, they basically have one body type for all men and for all women. You don't really see her with her very much, but and this actually happened a lot in Dragon Age 2. It was just like absurd. Like, you would have like 80-year-old women who apparently there was something in the water in Kirkwall that gave everybody, all the women, like double, at least C or double D bust magically, either whether they were 14 or 44, right? This is a time where bras didn't exist, by the way. So your mother and your sister have exactly the same body type. Your mother's supposed to be like in her 50s, right? And you're like, okay. And basically they're all based on I forgot her name, the pirate's body. And she looks sexier not because her body is actually different. She looks... Yeah, exactly. It's because she literally is not wearing any pants. Which, by the way, if you're... if you've actually been in the ocean, and I have, and sailing or anything like that, I mean, I'm not an expert sailor, but no, you would wear pants because the salt gets into everything. Not wearing pants is the most uncomfortable thing possible. But of course, she's supposed to be sexually liberated. So, I mean, I like the character well enough, but wow, look at all these bodies. They're supposed to be burns. This actually is very interesting because they're not only stacking bodies, but the fact that they're wrapped like this is because they don't in Ferelden they don't bury the dead, they burn them. So they're in their burial shawls, and the fact that they're here, right, shows you the fighting and all of that. Well, that blood should be congealed, and also the fact that this is a cold environment means that they probably will not rot. So there's that. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like people say, "Oh, well, you're gonna take the sexy away." It's like, no. The problem is, it's when everyone is that way, right? It's as if every single character, male character, had the body of Conan, just because, like, massive, built-in muscle shoulder pads kind of thing. You're like, I mean, where's the skinny guys, right? Where's the short guys? Where's the guy that, I don't know, it's lanky, right? Maybe where's the guy who's strong but has a pouch? Like he looks fat but it's really real muscle. It's just that he's not a bodybuilder, so he doesn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, right? I am the Terminator. I'll be back. That's an horrible accent. Yes, there's a certain amount of fantasy about men and women and And you can even have the sexy characters, right? In many ways, it kind of defeats the purpose of having the sexy character because the sexy character doesn't stand out. It's just like, oh, this is supposed to, this is very, oh wait, no, she looks like every other character. And I understand there are limitations to animations and all that, and since you can use skins to hide a lot of this stuff, right? What people wear. Although, you know, PC gaming mods. Yeah. That's. I'll leave it at that. I'll let your imagination fill in the blanks there. Which is probably not gonna take a lot. It's kind of stupid. It's like, we can't have like black people in fantasy. It's like, have you ever looked at a map? Europe, Mediterranean, Africa, Middle East, Africa, Eurasia.
I should look around.
Yes, people of different kingdoms, and even people who are coated white, right? Have you actually been in the sun and working out in the sun for a long time? You're like a farmer. Exactly. Oh, not even body, because I'm sure I bet every woman in Mass Effect 2 has the same body as Miranda. They made Miranda, and then they give her the same body. They have to give her they have to give her clothing that, you know, emphasizes it, and give her, you know, like positions and stuff like that, right? She gets the sexy lingerie, you know, the bra and all that. She gets to have the butt pose, which is like bending over. Like, oh, she's the sexy one. I get it. And the thing about it is that they had to work overtime to hide it too, because what's her name? The one with the tattoos. God damn, I forgot her name. They gave her all those tattoos and the wrappings around the breast and all that using a skin to show that she doesn't have the same body type. I think she's supposed to be a bit shorter, right? Supposed to be, but not really. And you know, it's like, oh, another thing is like, hey, we have a fantasy counterculture, kind of fantasy system, and the women have high heels. Again, if you're using a mod, right, and you want to put high heels in it, like in Skyrim, which those exist, okay, that's your choice as a player. But high heels were not invented for women. No, high heels, I believe, started in the 16th century, and they were for men because they were designed. Well, high heels were designed originally as equestrian clothing. Die. To ride in stirrups. Ugh. That looks nasty. In stirrups. But it was also designed to show up the legs and the butts of men. Yeah, that's right. That's why high heels are there. Your high heels, it pushes up it stretches your legs and puts up your butt. And the reason why you wanted to show that in men is because, again, men up to the 17th century, even 18th century, were supposed to be above all, especially royalty and nobility. They were supposed to be knights in armor. They were supposed to be cavalrymen, which is seen as both a martial and elite martial profession. So, and yes, I'm wasting my time running around, but I just want to get all the resources, and also it gives me time to talk. And you know, was part of the thing, right? eventually that fashion went away for men, and then I believe in the 19th century, sometime in the 19th century, it got rediscovered for women, and now it's associated with women. But we have this association in modern minds with high heels and femininity that we cannot see a female character, especially in armor, not wearing high heels. It's like, again, you know, if you're going for the none of this clothing is realistic kind of thing look, which I think a lot of, say, card games and Japanese, Korean, and even Chinese games are going for, where everybody wears ridiculous clothing, then you're like, okay, fine, this is, you know, Final Fantasy, of course, being the perfect example. Then yeah, right, okay, I get it. But if it's supposed to be your Western designer making a Western RPG that is supposedly mildly connected to, and it's supposed to be realistic when it comes to, you know, fantasy, you know, medieval realism, whatever that means, then yeah, why the high heels? I don't see guys who are complaining about high heels, like, well, it's supposed to be realistic. Yeah, what about those high heels? Why not the guys wearing high heels? You know. And not only high heels, like stiletto high heels, which were, I think they were not a thing for men. And then high heels came back, by the way, in fashion in the 1970s. A lot of men wear high heels. The disco boots stuff was high heels for men, in boot form, of course, because it had to be high heels, but also be manly, I suppose. I remember enough of the 70s to hate it, so yeah, that's clothing and BioWare, the game design. They're being a little bit better about it. I think they're improving in that sense, and I think Anthem's not going to have a lot of that, certainly. They're going to have a lot more power armor, stuff like that. But again, I'm not opposed to sexy, but if you're going to bring back sexy, you better bring it back sexy right. Right? There's so much you can do with it. But alas, that's you know. And that's not why I love Cassandra. I love Cassandra because of her attitude, her worldview, the fact she stands on her own. You know. Okay, prototypical. Okay, almost that. She is a prototypical strong female character, which has become such a cliche on itself that becomes painful as well. Oh, she's not here, so I can't talk to her. But there's a loot thing. Hey, loot. I'm stealing people's medallions of service. Basically.
We cannot stay here. Why not? Because we're Templars.
These truths the Maker has revealed to me. As there is
So, yeah.
If the Inquisition wants to field a decent cavalry,
Ooh,
it needs better
wow, that's a lot of...
I heard Seeker Pentagast might try
What are they
to
keeping
acquire
here?
some
Because
mountains
if those are
and
horses,
turn
horses
them
don't
into
shit like that.
Oh, and who are you to be fishing around?
If
for
they
what
kept the
tyrants
horse
are
in
doing?
here, dear
Back in
God,
Ansburg, my
poor
uncle
bastard
was
is having
fifth praetor.
diarrhea or
And
something.
what's that mean for you back in Arnsburg?
That horse is dead. Oh, crafting. I like the crafting, but it's the UI, like anything else, is a bit big wonky.
How's the new gear fit?
It's not exactly what I'm used to.
Wrong time for style to dictate what you wear. World's gone mad. Stock armor and blades are good against bandits, but we're not fighting bandits.
Dude, you're supposed to put the blade on the anvil,
Apostate, whatever this world throws at you.
not a mile away from
You
it.
need custom work, something special.
Anyway,
You bring the materials to us, we'll make it happen.
Can you help improve my arms and armor?
Yes,
I do like the crafting in this game. It's always been crafting in one form or another in these games. I think Dragon Age 2 didn't have a lot of crafting. Original Dragon Age, you didn't do the crafting yourself, but you could, you could unlock armors and stuff like that. No schematics available. Schematics. Wow. Craft a weapon. Okay, well, this is. Okay, this is for. I'm not gonna build it because I don't need it.
That'll do.
That'll do. Can I modify weapons? I don't have anything to modify.
Need something? Let me know.
Can you help improve my arms and armor?
Yes. You find a new piece, a pauldron or greaves, we'll take care of you. You can't just slap a new hilt on your sword in the field. Bring it here, we'll make sure it's done right and proper.
If I want something, what can you make?
Start simple. Something to keep you safe. Take a look at it on the table there and we can talk. You'll need materials. We should have what you want just outside.
The right armor. Talking about the right armor, I am not a fan of being. Oh, heal bonus is always good. Of like wearing fashion. I really don't care for it. We're like, oh my god, if I care, it doesn't look great. I'm not gonna wear it. It's like, I don't care. Honestly. What I don't like is this game has a lot of grays in it when there should be more colorful things. The drops are not that extensive as I expect them. Although you can go to a place where if you spend a lot of gold, then... Oh, that's another thing I want to talk about this game. One of the reasons why I do not like Dragon Age 2. Although it kind of makes sense, but up to a point, up to a degree. The original Dragon Age... the original Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins, the economy was a silver-based economy, which was a big change because most of these economies are based on Dungeons and Dragons, right? So it's 10 copper pieces or 1 silver piece, 10 silver pieces, and 1 gold piece, and so on and so forth. And it's just a surprise, of course, that BioWare, who made games like Baldur's Gate, would use a very similar system. But when they did Origins, they said, no, wait a minute, we want a silver-based economy instead of a gold-based economy. So they did a little bit of inflation. They went from, instead of a factor of 10, they went to a factor of 100, which meant getting a gold piece was very rare. Getting 10 gold pieces to 100 gold pieces, that meant you had a lot of money, because most of the prices were in silver and copper. Come Dragon Age 2 and decided, we're not going to do that anymore. Everything's going to be gold. So by this time, in this game, everything is gold. Now, they don't explain it anywhere. I don't see any piece of lore where they explain the change. And you can argue that because, especially in this game, you're working with armies, right? Equipping armies and building fortifications and the like. Silver is not going to be enough. It's going to be very expensive. But still, that doesn't explain why they changed things.
So,
I wish
now
I
that
kept that
Cassandra's
system.
out of earshot, are you holding up all right? I mean, you go from being the most wanted criminal in Thedas to
she
joining
has
the
high
armies
heels.
of the faithful. Most people
She's a
would have
priestess. Why does she
spread
need
that out
heels
over
for?
more than one day.
I don't even want to think about how many lives were lost on that mountaintop.
A lot of good men and women didn't make it out of there. For days now, we've been staring at the breach, watching demons and maker knows what fall out of it. Bad for morale would be an understatement. I still can't believe anyone was in there and lived.
If it was that bad, why did you stay? Cassandra said you were free to go.
I like to think I'm as selfish and irresponsible as the next guy, but this... Thousands of people died on that mountain. I was almost one of them. And now there's a hole in the sky.
Are you
Even
cold?
I can't
I mean, you
walk
know,
away
you're
and just
dwarf
leave that
and,
to sort itself
you know,
out.
you're tough and all that. High constitution, but still.
It's pure luck that I escaped.
Good luck or bad? You might want to consider running at the first opportunity. I've written enough tragedies to recognize where this is going. Heroes are everywhere. I've seen that. But the hole in the sky... that's beyond heroes.
That looks like a silk shirt. With too many buttons open. Doesn't look like very good for this weather, but then again, that's the thing that doesn't happen much in video games. People don't suffer from cold unless they get, or heat unless they get blasted
Any
by
circle mate wanting to join
direct
needs to
flame
speak with
or
Cullen
frost.
Cassandra. Apostates too, I suppose. Oh, you're him. Thren. Inquisition quartermaster. I'm doing what I can to supply this mess. If you find what I need to fill one of my requisitions, I'd appreciate you bringing it in.
What did you mean when you mentioned requisitions?
I'm making this Inquisition run with what we have, but we're not a real army. We're stretched thin on materials, so I've put up a requisition list for anything that could help our people. Here, take a look. You find some iron and a good logging site, maybe Harriet can get our troops better weapons.
If I have material for a special order, do I bring it to you?
Just take it over there. One of my boys will take the materials or jot down what you found.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
I like the integration of these mechanics.
The Inquisition can use that.
The fact that you have influence. This little... let me see, these two gals are talking. And the fact that it translates to power. I like this little mechanical flourishes this game has. That's the one thing about... I've never seen a game do it. I think Mountain Blade kind of does it. Okay, let me explain something. Video games and tabletop RPGs. I'll take a stop here. You have what I like to call vertical power, which is this. Levels. Abilities, as you go in, level 3, level 4, you gain power, you go vertically, you get more powerful. Then, most games fail to incorporate what I call horizontal power. Power in the world, power in the setting. And the games I do, like this game, they do it kind of top down. Like you're a powerful person first and foremost.
Does it trouble you?
And then you are an adventurer. I wish I would see a game that did it the other way around.
I wish I could get rid of it.
We have need of it yet.
So you've mentioned.
What's important is that your mark is now stable, as is the breach. You've given us time, and Solas believes
But this comes close enough. I think, again, Origins does it better in that you are mostly an adventurer, but as you do adventures, you get more. You do more
things. That is not easy to come by.
And so you get, part of the adventures you want to get allies and stuff like that. And then finally at the end of Origins, you get sort of a bit of a tactical strategic power in which you say, okay, I want to order, reinforcements and stuff like that. It's a very simple mechanic, the reinforcement mechanic, but it shows your power and influence at the Great Warden.
What harm could there be in powering up something we barely understand?
Hold on to that sense of humor.
Right? And then if you play one of the expansions, which is Awakening...
May I present Commander Cullen, leader of the Inquisition's forces.
Such as they are. We lost many soldiers in the valley, and I fear many more before this is through.
This is Lady Josephine Montelier, our ambassador and chief diplomat.
I've heard much. It's a pleasure to meet you at last.
I like to flirt
And
her.
of course, you know Sister Liliana.
My position here involves a degree of...
She is our spy master.
Yes, tactfully put, Cassandra.
Pleased to meet you all.
I mentioned that your mark needs more power to close the breach for good.
Which means we must approach the rebel mages for help.
And I still disagree. The Templars could serve just as well.
We need power, Commander. Enough magic poured into that mark.
Might destroy us all. Templars could suppress the breach, weaken it, so...
Pure speculation.
I was a Templar. I know what they're capable of.
Unfortunately, neither group will even speak to us yet. The Chantry has denounced the Inquisition, and you specifically.
They still think I'm guilty.
That is not the entirety of it any longer. Some are calling you, a mage, the Herald of Andraste. That frightens the Chantry. The remaining clerics have declared it
She definitely has a sort of
and we,
Spaniard,
heretics,
Spanish,
are harboring.
slightly Italian
Chancellor Roderick's
accent to
doing,
her.
no doubt.
Her
It
name
limits our
is
options. Approaching
French,
the mages or Templars for help is currently out of the question.
but it makes sense. It makes sense.
Just how am I the Herald of Andraste?
People saw what you did at the temple, how
No,
you
she even
stopped
had
the
belts and
breach
belts
from
on
growing.
her gloves.
They have also heard about the woman seen in the rift when we first found you. They believe that was Andraste.
Even if we tried to stop that view from spreading...
Which we have not.
The point is, everyone is talking about you.
It's quite the title, isn't it? How do you feel about that?
It's a little unsettling.
I'm sure the Chantry would agree.
People are desperate for a sign of hope. For some, you're that sign. And to others, a symbol of everything that's gone wrong.
They aren't more concerned about the breach, the real threat.
They do know it's a threat, they just don't think we can stop it.
The Chantry is telling everyone you'll make it worse. There is something you can do. A Chantry cleric by the name of Mother Giselle has asked to speak to you. She is not far and knows those involved far better than I. Her assistance could be invaluable.
I'll see what she has to say.
You will find Mother Giselle tending to the wounded in the hinterlands near Redcliffe.
Look for other opportunities to expand the Inquisition's influence while you're there.
We need agents to extend our reach beyond this valley, and you're better suited than anyone to recruit them.
In the
Because I'm the
meantime,
player
let's
character,
think of
of
other
course.
options. I won't
Otherwise-
leave this all to the Herald.
And this is what I mean by horizontal power. The map, right? There we go. Let's go to the hinterlands. Ouch. I like her too. Those are supposed to be crows, but they look kind of weird, like they have a disease or something. It's just a crest, but you know people I can go with, so here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. So it seems that no major slowdowns so far. That's good. The last time I tried to play this game, it started having slowdowns, although it took a little later when we were in the hinterlands. So hopefully it's better. We'll continue, I'll just keep playing. I wanted to stream it for a while just because it's a game I like to revisit every so often. The other game would be Skyrim, but Skyrim is more of a personal game for me. Suppose there's a stretch thing, what anything can do. I like these little letters and stuff like that. Of course, talking about Redcliffe, I wish they had kept the old map from Origins and just simply expanded it. Because it's, I mean, I suppose they had to change it because they had more resources, but still. Oh, these loading times are murder. Of course, I don't have an
World of Andraste.
SSD, I think it's.
I've heard the stories. Everyone has. We know what you did at the breach. Everyone's a little nervous around mages right now, but you'll get no backtalk here. That's a promise. Inquisition Scout Harding, at your service. Well, all of us here, will do whatever we can to help.
Harding, huh? Ever been to Kirkwall's Hightown?
I can't say I have. Why?
You'd be Harding and... No, never mind.
Ugh.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
I agree, Miranda.
We should get to business. The situation's pretty dire. We came to secure horses from Redcliffe's old horsemaster. I grew up here, and people always said that Dennett's herds were the strongest and the fastest this side of the Frostbacks. But with the Mage Templar fighting getting worse, we couldn't get to Dennett. Maker only knows if he's even still alive. Mother Giselle's at the crossroads helping refugees and the wounded. Our latest reports say that the war's spread there too. Corporal Vale and our men are doing what they can to help protect the people, but they won't be able to hold out very long. You best get going. No time to lose.
In spite of all the criticisms of the graphics and stuff like that, I do like the little flourishes of the scars and whatnot. Okay. She's my tank, so she has to track the enemy. She has to do that, otherwise I get bounced upon. That's a lot of you there. The outskirts. I have discovered the outskirts. That was a loading. Why did I... No, not the Phoenix Fox. Fennec Fox. I didn't want to kill it. No. Poor little Fennec. Or Finnick. Or whatever. How do you... That happens a lot. By the way, you're like, I just pressed the wrong button. Just wanted to jump.
Apostates! The apostates have fled to the hills.
Run to the hills. I should never sing on...
I'm not familiar with this.
I wonder why you're not familiar with this. I always mess this up. I always have to cheat on these ones. I always mess them up. I have to always look them up. I don't know how to do it. I try, and I fail. Oh my god, did I try? Trying all the time. But the thing is that once you get them, most of the things you can get with those things, aside from getting a bunch of XP, it's not that good. Again, why are you doing that? Wrong button. The jumpy button you want to get. You don't want to... Stop pressing that button. Murdering things. You murderer. You murder hobo, you. Get all... Ah, royal fruits. You need that. A letter in an empty home. Brythis, I know you escaped with the other mages, and I know you'll come here. Father told you that if you ever strayed, he put you down himself. If you're here, you know he's dead. But I'm not. I'll be killing apostates and waiting for you all in Phoenix Place to the north. I got Father's sword and my true brothers in the Templars. Come if you're a man enough, even.
That may be worth investigating.
The fact that's very interesting how the war has divided literally families. I'm talking about stuff. Let me listen. Okay. I mean, they're grays, but a little bit. Every little bit helps. And I like those little flourishes of lore, like, you know, these quests and how the war has divided families.
Mother Giselle should be somewhere nearby.
Basically, the parents hate his son because his brother and look at these bodies.
Inquisition forces. They're trying to protect the refugees.
Looks like they could use a hand.
Hold. We are not apostates.
I do not think they care, Seeker.
Teleporting powers like that were available when I was playing Origins. It would have saved the lives of many of my mages.
Be ready.
But then again, if that were the case, then the enemies would have done the same to me, so... No.
are victorious once more.
Okay, dude, when you hammer something, you don't hammer it like this. You gotta hammer. Never mind.
There are mages here.
Wow, what happened to his hair?
Lie
He looks like he's wearing a baseball ball.
Touch me, mother.
White.
Their magic is...
Turn to noble purpose.
Supposed to be blonde, I
The
guess.
magic is surely no
But
more
it just
evil
looks
than your blade.
ooh, rough.
Hush, dear boy. Allow them to ease your suffering.
Mother Giselle?
I am. And you must be the one they are calling the Herald of Andraste.
I'm told you asked for me.
I know of the Chantry's denouncement, and I am familiar with those behind it. I won't lie to you. Some of them are grandstanding, hoping to increase their chances of becoming the new divine. Some are simply terrified. So many good people, senselessly taken from us.
What happened was horrible.
Fear makes us desperate, but hopefully not beyond reason. Go to them. Convince the remaining clerics you are no demon to be feared. They have heard only frightful tales of you. Give them something else to believe.
You want me to appeal to them?
If I thought you were incapable, I wouldn't suggest it.
Will they even listen?
Let me put it this way. You needn't convince them all. You just need some of them to doubt. The power is the unified voice. Take that from them and you receive the time you need.
It's good of you to do this.
I honestly don't know if you've been touched by fate or sent to help us, but I hope. Hope is what we need now. The people will listen to your rallying call as they will listen to no other. You could build the Inquisition into a force that will deliver us or destroy us. I will go to Haven and provide Sister Leliana the names of those in the Chantry who will be amenable to a gathering. It is not much, but I will do whatever I can.
I like her accent. And it's the thing about these games that, especially BioWare, does a bit better with them. But there's still
Vale is
inconsistencies.
coordinating the Inquisition's efforts in the area. We should speak with him.
They're kind of inconsistent, obviously. And I think that's just because, well, there's only you can. There's so many good voice actors that can do consistently do English voices or whatever, and so you got to fill in. I mean, it's not as bad as Skyrim, but there it is. So we need to level up, and we're gonna leave it here. And hopefully the game will continue to cooperate. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, King Cobbler, and everyone else who was in chat. We'll continue to play this game until I think August the 9th. Until that time, I will probably jump to another fantasy game, which will probably, crossing fingers, will be Monster Hunter World for the PC. If it works on my machine, then and I can stream it, then so be it. So, thank you all for coming, and as always, we'll see you when we see you. Bye.